Today, we're kicking things off with Paddy Pimblett firing back at Tsarukyan, accusing him of copying his approach to building popularity. While many fans have been praising Tsarukyan for what they're calling a generational run on social media, appearing on multiple streams, interviews, and podcasts, Pimblett isn't buying into the hype. Instead, he believes Arman is simply trying to imitate his formula. Before diving deeper, Paddy encouraged fans to support the channel by liking the video. During a recent appearance on Full Send MMA, Pimblett addressed Tsarukyan's recent media blitz, where Arman has repeatedly taken shots at him while attempting to raise his own profile. To be fair, the strategy appears to be working. Over the past few weeks, Tsarukyan has gained significant attention, and many fans have started warming up to him in a big way. However, Pimblett made it clear that he isn't impressed. According to Paddy, Arman's sudden change in behavior feels forced and unoriginal. He mocked Tsarukyan for trying to replicate his social media persona, joking that Arman should stick to his own lifestyle rather than pretending to relate to fans by eating burgers and pizza online. Paddy sarcastically suggested that Tsarukyan should stick to caviar, implying that Arman comes from a more privileged background and is now trying too hard to appear relatable. Pimblett also responded to comments where Tsarukyan openly admitted that he doesn't like him, even going as far as saying he hates him. Paddy brushed off those remarks, suggesting that Arman believes he deserves success simply because of his background and financial support from his family. According to Pimblett, that sense of entitlement is exactly why Tsarukyan needs to be brought back down to earth. Overall, the rivalry between the two fighters continues to heat up, with both men using media appearances to take verbal shots as they build momentum outside the cage. Diaz has finally broken his silence after being largely absent from the public eye for over a year, and it appears he's not happy with the situation, or with some of the people closest to him. Over the past year, multiple sources claimed that Nick was in rehab and working to get his life back on track. However, Nick now suggests that his disappearance was not entirely his choice, and that he's deeply frustrated with those he believes allowed it to happen. In a lengthy and emotional statement shared on Instagram, Nick expressed anger toward individuals who, in his words, attempted to control his life. He claimed he was locked up for more than a year, and alleged that people he trusted kept him there for their own personal motives. Nick also took aim at an older figure who has publicly spoken on behalf of his family, stating that this person should be discredited and no longer represents his best interests. According to Nick, the constant negativity from that individual has done more harm than good, and he wants nothing more to do with it. Nick didn't stop there, also calling out certain YouTubers who he believes supported that narrative, accusing them of spreading misinformation for views. He explained that his inner circle has become much smaller as a result, but says he now understands why that change was necessary. Despite the frustration, Nick made it clear that not everyone has turned their back on him. He praised his wife, Kayla, crediting her for always having his best interests at heart and never using his struggles for personal gain. He also gave recognition to longtime supporter Martin Sano, calling him a day one who remained loyal despite criticism from others. Nick also addressed his relationship with his brother, Nate Diaz, suggesting there may be tension between them. While he didn't go into full detail, Nick urged Nate to cut ties with people in his circle who he believes are stirring unnecessary drama and embarrassing those around them. Given that this situation involves family matters, it's important to avoid speculation. Hopefully, the Diaz brothers can resolve any misunderstandings privately and eventually reunite to train together once again. Dana White has officially shut down rumors surrounding a potential showdown between Conor McGregor and Jorge Masvidal. As anticipation continues to build around the UFC's highly discussed White House event, fans have been eager to learn which blockbuster fights will make the final card. Since the UFC confirmed plans to host an event at the historic venue, speculation has been non-stop. Ahead of UFC 324, Dana White sat down with TMZ Sports and addressed the growing buzz. The UFC CEO explained that once this weekend's fights conclude, the promotion will immediately begin the matchmaking process. According to White, meetings will take place early the following week, and the White House card will start taking shape shortly after. He expects the full lineup to be finalized by the second week of February. While that doesn't guarantee immediate announcements, contracts still need to be negotiated and signed, it does suggest fans could begin hearing official fight confirmations sometime next month. One matchup that has gained traction online is Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal. The idea gained momentum after several figures teased the possibility, sparking widespread discussion on social media. However, Dana White made it clear that he isn't entertaining the idea. When asked about the matchup, White dismissed the rumors outright, referring to them as goofy and suggesting he hadn't even seen most of the online chatter due to his social media algorithm. Michael Chandler also weighed in on the speculation, reacting sarcastically on social media by pointing out how easy it has become to generate headlines. He jokingly said he could neither confirm nor deny the rumors, comparing them to landing on the moon. Despite Dana White's dismissal, former UFC champion Michael Bisping voiced support for the matchup. Bisping argued that McGregor versus Masvidal makes sense from an entertainment and business standpoint. He noted that McGregor is the sport's biggest star and that the UFC benefits when he's involved. According to Bisping, the White House event doesn't need star power to sell, but pairing it with high-profile names would elevate it even further. He added that both McGregor and Masvidal are natural entertainers who would deliver an exciting, action-packed fight. With the Masvidal fight seemingly off the table, attention now shifts back to other possibilities. Could Conor McGregor still face Michael Chandler at the White House? Or might another contender, such as Justin Gaethje, enter the conversation? As matchmaking continues behind the scenes, fans will have to wait and see which direction the UFC ultimately takes. Ali Abdelaziz has thrown a new name into the mix as discussions continue around Conor McGregor's potential return to the UFC. While it remains uncertain whether McGregor will ever step back into the octagon, a question fans have been asking for years, talk of him competing on the UFC's rumored White House card has only intensified. With Dana White recently dismissing the idea of McGregor facing Jorge Masvidal, attention has now shifted toward another high-profile possibility. Speaking with Submission Radio, Justin Gaethje's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, shared his thoughts on what could come next if Gaethje were to capture the interim lightweight title at UFC 324. Rather than focusing on belts, Abdelaziz pitched a blockbuster grudge match, suggesting Gaethje versus McGregor on June 14th, a date tied to America's 250th anniversary celebrations. According to Abdelaziz, the timing and setting would make for a massive spectacle, especially at a White House event. Abdelaziz didn't hold back in his comments, claiming McGregor has avoided Gaethje for years and suggesting that McGregor currently has limited options if he wants a meaningful return fight. Despite their long-standing rivalry, Abdelaziz acknowledged McGregor's past accomplishments, admitting that while he doesn't personally like him, McGregor was once an elite fighter. However, he emphasized that the sport evolves, and in his view, Gaethje is now operating on a completely different level. He also pointed out that both fighters are roughly the same age, addressing fans who may feel the matchup sounds outdated. While the fight would undoubtedly generate massive attention, there are still major questions surrounding its realism. One of the biggest obstacles would be McGregor making the 155-pound lightweight limit again, something that seems increasingly difficult given his current physique and extended time away from competition. Although the idea of Gaethje versus McGregor is intriguing from an entertainment standpoint, it remains unclear whether it could actually come together. As negotiations and matchmaking can continue behind the scenes, fans will have to wait and see whether this proposed showdown becomes a reality or remains just another ambitious pitch in the ongoing White House card speculation. Paddy Pimblett has once again found himself at the center of attention at the UFC Performance Institute, this time after a brief but memorable encounter with fellow UFC fighter Gene Silva. Just days after footage surfaced of Pimblett crossing paths with Sean Strickland at the PI, another interaction quickly began making the rounds online. During the encounter, Pimblett appeared energetic and animated, even barking playfully in Silva's direction as the two shared a lighthearted moment. The exchange seemed friendly rather than hostile, reflecting Pimblett's well-known personality and his tendency to turn even casual run-ins into entertaining content. As the clip continues, the atmosphere remains upbeat. Voices can be heard encouraging another round of drills, with comments like, "Let's go again," and "That's how it's done," suggesting the moment took place during or immediately after a training session. Pimblett appeared relaxed and confident, celebrating the grind of training while engaging with those around him. Silva, for his part, didn't appear bothered by the interaction. Instead, the exchange came off as mutual respect between fighters who understand the intensity and culture of the UFC Performance Institute. One comment referenced Carlos Prates, jokingly suggesting that after meeting Pimblett, he started partying and smoking, clearly said in a humorous tone, rather than as a serious accusation. Moments like these highlight the unique environment at the PI, where elite fighters from different divisions regularly cross paths. While tensions can sometimes run high in such competitive settings, interactions like this show the camaraderie that exists behind the scenes. For Pimblett, these moments also reinforce why he continues to stand out, not just for his performances inside the octagon, but for his ability to create buzz wherever he goes. As Paddy Pimblett continues preparing for his next fight, fans can likely expect more viral moments like this, especially when he's surrounded by other high-level fighters in the heart of UFC training culture. The UFC is facing growing criticism over what some are calling unfair treatment toward interim heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall. Aspinall has learned the hard way that sympathy in combat sports can be short-lived, and one of his teammates has now spoken out strongly in his defense. Following Aspinall's no-contest bout with Cyril Gane in October, which was halted after Aspinall suffered 2 severe eye pokes, the British heavyweight found himself under heavy scrutiny. Many fans questioned why the fight was stopped, and even UFC President Dana White stopped short of fully backing Aspinall, suggesting there was some debate over whether the fight could have continued. The reaction marked a stunning shift for a fighter who, just weeks earlier, had been receiving widespread praise for his performances and professionalism. Aspinall's teammate, Modestas Bukauskas, recently addressed the backlash during an interview with MMA Fighting, making it clear he was frustrated by how the situation was handled. Bukauskas described Aspinall as a model company man who has consistently stepped up when the UFC needed him. He pointed out that Aspinall accepted a high-risk fight against Sergey Pavlovich on extremely short notice, waited patiently for a unification bout with John Jones, and delivered dominant performances, often finishing opponents in the first round. According to Bukauskas, it was shocking to see people overlook all of that simply because Aspinall couldn't continue after sustaining serious eye damage. He emphasized that most critics have never experienced an eye poke of that severity and don't understand how debilitating it can be. Bukauskas shared his own experience with eye injuries, explaining that his vision remained blurred for an extended period and that repeated damage can have long-term consequences. Once medical reports confirmed the seriousness of Aspinall's injury and revealed that surgery was required, much of the criticism quickly faded. Still, Bukauskas believes the initial backlash was completely unjustified. At the same time, he feels the experience will only fuel Aspinall moving forward, adding another layer of motivation when he eventually returns to competition. Based on Aspinall's comments since the fight, it's clear the tension with Gane hasn't disappeared. If a rematch does happen, there will be no shortage of emotion, intensity, or unfinished business inside the cage. Dana White has responded to mounting backlash as the UFC's highly anticipated White House card continues to gain momentum. With the event drawing widespread attention, White has been making the media rounds to build excitement. However, despite the historic nature of the card, several UFC fighters have publicly expressed hesitation about competing on it. Flyweight contender Brandon Royval was among the first to voice his concerns, stating that he prefers to fight in front of real fans rather than a crowd dominated by politicians. He even compared the concept to something out of the Hunger Games, suggesting the atmosphere wouldn't feel authentic. Former middleweight champion Sean Strickland echoed similar sentiments, arguing that fans should be more involved and that the event shouldn't feel exclusive or detached from the UFC's core audience. Paddy Pimblett also weighed in, explaining that he wouldn't be particularly interested in fighting on the card due to the extremely limited attendance. Pimblett pointed out that the restricted capacity would likely prevent him from bringing family members to watch him compete, which is an important factor for many fighters. Dana White addressed these criticisms during an interview with Bloomberg, pushing back against the idea that the White House event would be overly political. When asked whether he anticipated issues convincing fighters to participate, White dismissed the concerns and questioned how the event could be considered political simply because of its location. White pointed to history as context, noting that former U.S. presidents have openly supported various sports without politicizing them. He referenced George W. Bush's passion for baseball, Barack Obama's support of the NBA, and Donald Trump's enthusiasm for the UFC. According to White, a president being a fan of a sport has never turned that sport into a political statement, and he sees no reason why this event would be any different. As plans for the White House card continue to develop, the debate around the event highlights a broader conversation about accessibility, atmosphere, and tradition within the sport. While some fighters remain skeptical, the UFC appears committed to moving forward with what could become one of the most unique events in its history. The video wraps up by encouraging viewers to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with the latest MMA news and updates.